You're probably scrolling through a sea of pre-built gaming rigs, wondering if any of them will actually give you solid performance without draining your wallet or leaving you with a box you can't upgrade later. It's a real headache. Spend too much and you end up with money you could have used for a better monitor, or spend too little and you're stuck playing at low settings while your friends breeze past you. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. And in the next few minutes, I'm going to walk through exactly what this HOENGAGER desktop brings to the table, who will actually benefit from it, and where the value really lives beyond the headline specs. First off, let's talk about the everyday scenario most of us have when we sit down to game. You fire up a fresh install of Fortnite, or you drop into an Apex Legends match after a quick lunch break, and you want smooth 1080p performance that looks good but doesn't choke your frame rate. The HOENGAGER comes with an AMD Ryzen 5 5600 CPU, a 6-core, 12-thread chip that's been the workhorse for budget mid-range gaming builds for a few years now. In real-world testing, that processor handles modern titles at 1080p without any bottlenecking, even when you have a browser tab open for Discord or a music stream. It's the sort of CPU that lets you game and stream simultaneously without the system hiccuping every few minutes. The GPU is an AMD Radeon RX 6600M. That M tells you it's the mobile version of the 6600, which means it's a little slower than the full desktop variant, but it still punches well above its weight for 1080p gaming. In games like Valorant or CS2, you'll see easily 120,150 frames per second on high settings, which is more than enough for a 144Hz monitor. For more graphically demanding titles like Cyberpunk 2077 or Red Dead Redemption 2, you'll be looking at around 4,560 frames per second on medium-high settings, which is respectable for a system in this price bracket. If your aim is competitive play where every frame counts, the 6600M is more than capable, though you won't be hitting the ultra-high frame rates that a top-tier RTX 3060 or higher could deliver. Memory and storage are where you start to see the practical convenience of this machine. 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM is the sweet spot for most gamers today, enough to keep a few background applications running while you game. And it's enough for modern titles that are starting to use more than 8 gigabytes. The 1TB SSD is a real time saver. Load times in open-world games feel almost instantaneous, and the space is generous enough to hold several large games plus a few large files if you dabble in video editing or content creation. I've personally installed 3 AAA titles plus a few indie games, and still have a comfortable amount of breathing room. One of the first things you'll notice when you power this rig on is the ARGB lighting. 5 fans with software-controlled RGB can be synced to your other peripherals, creating a cohesive look for your desk. It's not a performance feature, but for folks who like their setup to look as good as it runs, it adds a nice visual touch. The software is straightforward. A single app lets you pick colors, patterns, and even set the fans to react to temperature spikes, which is a fun way to see the system working under load. Now let's get into the hidden trade-offs that often get glossed over in marketing copy. Because the GPU is a mobile part, you won't get the same overclock headroom that a desktop-class 6600 would allow. If you ever plan to upgrade the graphics card later, you'll be limited to whatever fits the existing chassis and power supply. The case is a compact mid-tower, which is great for smaller rooms, but it does mean tighter airflow and potentially louder fan curves under heavy load. In my testing, the fans were audible during intense gaming sessions, though not obnoxiously loud, more of a subtle hum that you'll notice if you're sitting right next to the case. Another point to consider is expandability. The motherboard supports a single M.2 SSD slot and 2 2.5-inch bays, but there's no room for an additional GPU or a larger power supply without significant modifications. If you're the type who likes to future-proof by swapping in a new graphics card every couple of years, this desktop might feel a bit restrictive. On the other hand, the included 1-year warranty and lifetime US-based tech support are genuine peace-of-mind factors. When you're buying a pre-built, having a real person on the other end of the line who can walk you through a driver issue or a BIOS update can save you hours of frustration. Who should buy this? If you're a casual or mid-core gamer who wants a ready-to-play machine out of the box, this is a solid pick. It's ideal for someone who plays a mix of esports titles and a few heavier games at 1080p, streams on Twitch or YouTube at 1080p, and values a